I didn't really know anything about Dune at all.
I didn't either.
But then like the second one came out, and actually it's a lot of the like different faith creators that I follow have been like just going on and on about it. And I'm like,
yeah, I mean, you got to be in the mood. I mean, it's ostensibly the same amount of commitment as watching Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers so far. And, you know, they're both 2 hours and 45 minutes.
yep.
First one builds. I thought it was really gorgeous, and I enjoyed it, but it's very much a part one, clearly. There's little resolution. You don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
But the second one is really, really good and makes the first one better by proxy and context. As someone who hasn't read the books, hasn't seen the original from the 80s.
Yep.
I mean, everything is just top notch, from the visuals to the acting to the pacing and editing and the sound design, and just the scope of the world is so massive and yet feels real. Like sometimes, like in Star Wars, when it was all CGI, you're like, yeah, sure, there's a million clones there, but
It's fun, but
it's clearly not real. And this one's like, there's gravitas, there's weight to, like literal weight to them that feels real. And
Yeah.
you know, they're in a room that's 90 feet wide and 200 feet tall, and it feels like it. Like, it's really cool.
that's awesome. No, it's definitely on the watch list for me. That's probably now I got to go back and watch one so I can go watch two.
You definitely need to. We watched one again, because we hadn't seen it since it first came out in 2021, the night before, which was absolutely necessary. I would have been
Lost.
completely lost.
I feel like that, because when the whole MCU really came on, I think I had seen like the first Iron Man, maybe the second Iron Man, and then kind of didn't really see anything for a couple of years at least. I'm trying to think of where we were, if we were like Guardians of the Galaxy time frame or something when we plugged in.
Yeah.
Or Captain America. No, Captain America's earlier.
Yeah, I want to say Guardians is the one that kind of pulled me back in, because I had gotten a little bit of that initial superhero fatigue after Iron Man 2 and 3, Thor 2. We had obviously the bad Hulk movies. There was, I think at that point, 3 Captain Americas, and I don't think I'd even ever seen the first one. I'd only seen the second. So I'd kind of skipped a little bit, and it was like, oh man, there's so much. And then Guardians was so new and fresh and different.
And fun.
And fun.
It's so fun.
That it just changed the entire trajectory of the MCU. And that got me back into it, which led to Infinity War and Endgame and the cinematic
heartbreak
experience that was. I think we discussed that last time, but
so incredible and so fun. Such an experience.
Yeah, but I mean the quality was there. Like even in that period, besides Hulk, which were very early, and I recently rewatched the Eric Bana one, and it is so strange.
Yeah.
They tried to do this like comic book, like make the movie feel like a comic book with like page flippings, or like you zoom into like a scene, and it just doesn't work.
It's sad because they definitely, like, the few Hulk movies we got around the time before MCU kicked off. I mean, they were Hulk movies, but it's like there's such a character there that could be. They just didn't do it justice.
Right.
And it's so sad because Hulk is so awesome, and then you look at what Mark Ruffalo did with the character, and then, you know, the two of them melding together basically as the arc goes, and getting to the point where the brains and the brawn come together, and what does that look like? Mm-hmm. And like, what about that with his own like story of like that journey. Like we saw little bits of it on screen, but not like its whole own story. And like that's such a cool story because it's like a nice representation of what a lot of people in life go through, of like two different parts of you that are fighting for you. And like as you're trying to, like there's the image that you have of yourself and then the image your family has of you, or the image of you at work in the world and you at church, or there's, you know, these different parts of you that they kind of have their own part, and how does that eventually come together. And watching that just a little bit on the MCU movies play through, I enjoyed it. It's like I could watch a whole movie of that, as long as it's done right, not like the other Hulks.
Right.
Because then I'm gonna turn it off.
Yeah.
No offense to Hulk.
Yeah. That's just, I think what makes it so disappointing about the direction it's gone recently. Seems so much more quantity over quality. And, you know, it used to be an event to go see an MCU movie, and now it's like a drudgery.
Wait for it to come out.
That's coming out now?
Wait for it to come out on streaming, and we'll watch it at home.
Yeah, between the movies and the TV series.
Yeah, it got
a lot.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen all of them because it's just too much. And then to take myself out of it and be like, all right, I liked that initial arc. Not to say that my kids have to, because, you know, maybe they won't. But to think, if I want my kids to enjoy that narrative arc, they have to, if they want to really get into it, watch 17 movies. And then if there's another arc that happens to come up in the next 5 to 10 years while they're still growing up, but not old enough to watch it yet, then they're up to the 25, 30 movies that you're required to really get all the nuance. And
it almost gets daunting a little bit.
Yeah.
I can say, I think that's where Katie and I, we lucked out when it came to the MCU, because I had seen a couple of the Iron Mans, hadn't seen anything, and there was probably, you know, when we really jumped into it, 8-10 movies done. Somewhere in there is probably when we actually like plugged in, saw one, was like, and I think it might have been Guardians, I'm not sure. But it was like, okay, this is good. Well, I guess if we're gonna watch it, we should go back to the beginning and then start working our way through. You know, so we were like, we saw a couple of the movies in theater, the rest of them we were all behind on. But the nice thing is we didn't have the gap from starting at Iron Man and watching everyone as soon as it came out and just waiting for the next thing.
Yeah.
Like our time frame actually is some of the movies closer to Infinity War. Infinity War and Endgame, we saw both those in theater. Probably 2 more before that. I don't remember the order of them all, so I can't even. I saw Captain Marvel in theater. Black Panther. Black Panther might have been the first one I saw in theaters. I don't know. But
what a good flick.
It really is.
Man.
And such a tragedy to, like, where could that have gone? You know, where would his character take it? I mean, his acting and his passion into that role, like having to make a shift like that. Unfortunately, it's a thing that you go back to one of the most iconic movies, The Crow, and you think about what could have been there, or just his career to just be gone so quick.
On-set accident, man. Horrible.
Freak stuff.
They're remaking it. You see that?
I did not.
With the same guy that plays It. I don't think that's the clown. Pennywise in It.
I know who you're saying. I'm just
Skarsgård. And it looks like they're doing a Crow version of Jared Leto's Joker.
Okay. I think, me personally, I think if they take The Crow and they give it a totally different, fresh twist to it, I could get behind that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you try to just recreate The Crow, that's going to be tough. And I don't know that I would totally be down for that.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to hit it out the park with that. Because otherwise, like, it's just such a iconic, dark, gritty, emotional movie.
Mm-hmm.
Then I talk about and I probably need to watch again. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But it has probably been 10, 15 years since I watched it now.
Yeah, probably same here. Maybe even longer. Probably college, 2006.
Yeah, that's almost 20. Whoa. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
That goes fast.
We're getting up there, man.
Absolutely.
How old are you?
Can't say that on camera.
5.
40.
What year were you born?
42 this year I turned.
Okay.
Yeah, graduated 2000.
Well,
And it doesn't seem like that long ago.
no, it doesn't. I just turned 30 this year, and it's crazy. Now,
Acting might need some work.
I'm about to turn 38 come June. And it definitely doesn't feel like it. It's easier to grasp that I'm much closer to people that are 50 than people that are coming out of high school and college. But I feel internally, body-wise, that I'm closer to that. Like, I don't feel like a 50-year-old. But I suppose when I'm 50, I'll be like, I definitely don't feel like a 60-year-old.
I think that's fair, but it's definitely interesting as you say that, because I think of, like, some of the kids where I work and stuff. I mean, they're in their early 20s, and I feel like a kid, but then they talk and I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then a 50-year-old or even a 60-year-old are talking. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. You talk about that.
Uh-huh.
I get all that. So apparently I'm getting older.
Yes.
But then I still do my best to watch new things coming out or listen to fresh music or try to stay in the pulse. But nowadays it's so, well, just like you're saying with the MCU, and like, look at music. I mean, it used to be like you had to wait for an album to come out and you went to the store and there's only so many albums available. And now it's, some artists are putting out a song a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one artist. And there's random people on YouTube that just make music. And it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I only have so many hours in the day.
Right.
But I love music.
I think I when I was in high school and I was really into like classic rock, still am, but that was essentially all I listened to was like Nat King Cole through like Leonard Skinner, maybe a little late Billy Joel. Like that was my
Gotta have Billy Joel.
That was my wheelhouse. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? By the time I get through college, I'm going to have listened to, I didn't say everything, but as much as possible. And I was going to like go year by year, like the top 15 albums and make sure I listen to that. And then, you know, I got a bit through that. And then I was also going to catalog like every movie I'd watched and keep like a record of like, I give it this out of this, and this is why. And I should have done it when I was thinking about it, because that was coming out of high school. And I was probably only at like 400 movies I'd ever seen, because I didn't watch much growing up. And once I got to college, it just, because everyone on my floor had dozens, if not hundreds of movies, and I would watch them and stay up late. And now, without a real good idea, I put a ballpark of close to probably 2,500 films I've seen, and I
That's incredible.
haven't rated any of them. I'm like, I can think about them in my head, but there's be some that I watched that. When would I have?
2,500. Yeah, I'm not there.
Yeah, no, I think
definitely not there.
Leonard Maltin, who's a very well-known critic, did there used to be Siskel and Ebert. They did Two Thumbs Up. And when Siskel passed away, they brought in Leonard Maltin or Richard Roeper to kind of fill in for him with Ebert before Ebert passed away. Yep. So I got to know him from that. It was Maltin and Ebert at the movies, and then it was Roper and Ebert at the movies. So Maltin, I don't know if he still does it. Maybe he does. But for like 3 or 4 years straight, he released essentially a dictionary of movies that he had seen, and it was listed alphabetically, and it have, you know, title, his rating, year it came out, you know, language, like English, German, whatever. Here's a brief synopsis of it. And I literally went through this like 1,000-page book on paperback, and I went through it and starred every movie I'd seen. And that was probably right after college, and I was up to like 1,300. And that was 14 years ago now.
A couple years ago.
And my pace hasn't necessarily slowed. It's probably slowed more recently with kids.
Yeah, kids. But that also...
was 22 to 31 is when I had my first kid. So I had another...
And you still have like 32, 33. The first couple of years where you still...
Yeah, just a baby upstairs.
Yeah.
Occasionally need stuff. So...
Yeah, so you can still get into movies. Sometimes movies is the only thing you do get in.
Yeah. So if I was gonna if I was gonna start that catalog now, I'd probably have to go back to something like that. Which I still have the book with it written in, but now I'd have to supplement it with a new version. And be like, all right, here's the other 1,000 I've seen. And I think what hindered me in the past was I can be very organized, but I'm not any kind of OCD or it has to be a certain way, or I'm not very much like, if I don't have a way to organize this, I need to create it. Now I'm sure there's a catalog or an app I could download.
Oh, yeah.
Just do it. And that might be more helpful for me. But back then where it's like, I'm going to write this out. I'm going to try to do it on like an Excel sheet, or I just didn't have a good conceptualization of how I do it well. Because if I'm going to do it, I also want to like plug in like themes. So if I want to, you know, narrow it down to like dramas or genres or faith-based, or I can plug those in and I can choose. But
I'm sure there's
that sounds like a lot of work. Well, that's going to be a retirement project.
Well, by then the list is going to be... Well, I mean, at least you have your retirement plan, because it'll probably take all of it to get there.
Right. I mean, we own close to 700 DVDs between the two of us, me and my wife, right now. And I've seen all except for like 11 of those, and those are 11 that she brought over that I just hadn't seen and won't choose to.
Well, there again comes in like with the new music in like movies and entertainment, like even with the MCU, and as they picked up pace and they have the TV shows and they have the movies and they have everything else, it's like you have to start picking and choosing like what you're watching. And there is, like, I'm not the film and movie buff like you, but there's classic iconic movies that I've never seen. I mean, there's plenty of holes in my movie watching.
Sure.
And if you're looking for anything Adam Sandler, yeah, I pretty much covered that up until, I mean, recently.
Billy Madison, like 4 times.
4 times 100? I don't know. Well, that's, like, you talk about, like, being in college and having these, like, I remember, like, graduating, going to the military, and at that point it was still, like, VHSs, and I think I had Happy Gilmore and Tommy Boy were 2 of the videos that I had that I watched a lot. So I've seen them a lot.
Great films.
Oh, amazing.
Not so much here or here, but right here. Nah, I don't see anything.
What happened to your face? His just commitment to the acting, like, just priceless. Yeah, there's another just icon lost so early that imagine what else he would have blessed us with. But
yeah, people got their struggles, man.
He burned bright. And
him and Robin Williams.
Oh yeah,
Belushi.
At least, not that it's good, but Belushi and Farley, like, you knew they had struggles, eating and use and abuse and stuff, and like, they had their issues that they lived I'm going at it life. Where Robin Williams, so much of it, nobody knew where he was really at. Like, it wasn't like you didn't see that in the public. You didn't hear people talking about it. It wasn't. And really a lot of people even that were close to him, you hear them that they didn't know what he was going through. And like, that's like to think of all the joy he brought people, but he had this wound underneath, which allowed him to do what he did, but ultimately, he's never able to fix and fill that void and that hole in him.
Yeah.
It actually makes me think of, I've seen a recent commercial that I thought was just incredible, because it looks like two guys at a soccer game, and the one guy's just sitting there just kind of non-emotional watching the game, and the other buddy shows up and he's cheering and having a good time and just always lively, and then it gets to the end and it's, sometimes the signs are obvious, sometimes they're not. And you cut to it, and it's the guy who was seemed like he was happy, joyful, and jumping around all the time that isn't there anymore. And just because somebody is bringing joy out and is fun-loving and outgoing doesn't mean that they don't have those demons lying underneath.
Yeah.
And they're the ones, I think, that can so often be overlooked the most. Like in Robin Williams' case. Some people maybe knew, but from what I gathered, the majority of people around him never knew.
Yeah.
They just figured he's a happy, always cheerful, making people laugh.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know. I mean, obviously there's no way to know now, but because he was best friends with John Belushi. And I think they partied many nights, but the night that he died, he was partying with Robin Williams, and Robin got home and then found the next morning that he hadn't made it when he was about to go on set for Mork and Mindy. And I would be curious to know how much that kind of steered his next direction in life versus if it was just always there under the surface.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So
that's that survivor's guilt.
Robin lived hard too, but that kind of shocked him when his best friend, who he also thought was, we're just young and invincible and we're just having fun, didn't wake up the next morning. And so I'd be curious. Again, there's no way to know it now. But how much that affected him.
Survivor's guilt is a very real thing. Mm-hmm. In a situation like that. Yeah, so how many years did he live with that?
That would have been like 76, I want to say.
Yeah, so that's a weight to be carrying.
And he passed away in 2014.
Yeah, so if he carried survivor's guilt and never really faced it, I can definitely...
Well, I know for a fact that he was in counseling. Whether he actually faced it or not is a different thing. But I found a little solace in hearing that Robin had been diagnosed with essentially what Bruce Willis is going through, of like, you're going to start losing your memory, losing things that make you in the coming years. And so that might have been Robin's like, well, I think I'll go out on my terms instead
exit stage left.
Instead of when I don't remember who I am and I can't make people laugh and
Yeah.
I can't find joy in little things, and I don't know my daughter, I don't know my wife. And does it make it better overall? No. But I think for me, as an individual Robin Williams lover, to hear it wasn't just, he was just so sad he couldn't take it anymore. It was more than that, it sounds like. Make it a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but there was a little bit more of a reason to it.
Well, I think that's totally fair. I think saying, that there's a piece in that.
Yeah. Because it was, again, for most people, so out of left field. But it obviously wasn't for him. But.
Oh, yeah. No. Gosh. Such a great actor. Did he ever win any Oscars?
He did.
See, you're way more
yeah.
That's where I can just I'll openly admit, I love movies and entertainment, but I'm not nearly as engulfed and versed as you.
That's fair.
I appreciate that about you.
Yes, I mean, I could always be a little bit mistaken, but I believe he was nominated 3 times. Leading actor in Dead Poets Society.
So good.
I think supporting actor in The Fisher King. Have you seen this?
Not. I know of it.
It's a very interesting movie, and everyone in it does a great job, including Robin Williams. He plays essentially a homeless guy who has schizophrenic disorder, so he has multiple personalities, and it's just the part made for Robin Williams besides the genie. And he just nails it.
And that's, yeah.
And then he ended up winning supporting actor for Good Will Hunting.
Yeah,
He was the psychiatrist that he sits down with, or the professor he sits down with. But at the time, there still isn't an award for voiceover performance of the year, which I think there should be with how much animated stuff we have.
Right?
And if there had been, he obviously would have taken it home for the genie.
Oh gosh, still one of the best ever.
But I believe "Friend Like Me" was nominated. So he wasn't nominated, but he sang the song that was, but it lost to A Whole New World that year, which obviously from the same movie.
I guess if you're going to lose to somebody, lose into somebody in your own movie at least.
So, yeah.
Do I like The Whole New World or Friend Like Me? I guess I get The Whole New World winning, but The Friend Like Me is so good.
Yeah. And then I would, I'd have to look over his filmography again. He made some impactful movies towards the end of his career, but nothing was as well received as anything in the 90s. So he wasn't ever up for anything.
No, I know later in his career definitely wasn't.
He was in Christopher Nolan's Insomnia with Al Pacino, and that was pretty well received, but I don't think it was nominated for anything.
That's just crazy sometimes, the actors, the movies that just get completely overlooked or passed by and this stuff. But at the same time, you think of how many great performances that can happen in any given year. And it seems like there can be years where it's and then the next year comes around and you have 6, 7 just incredible performances. It's well, flip your coin.
Yeah.
If you would have been last year, you would have taken it home, no problem. But now you're against all these giant juggernauts, and
yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do next year, because usually that doesn't have to, because it can be a film that comes out any time in the prior year.
Yeah.
But usually, if you think your film is going to be up for any potential Oscars, you release it later in the year. Barbie and Oppenheimer were 2 that kind of bucked that trend. They both came out in July, but had enough momentum and quality to carry them through award season. But usually, the Oscar baity ones, those get released through Thanksgiving through Christmas, usually.
Which is also
they have
prime movie time.
So they have the momentum to carry them through the award seasons and, word of mouth and top of mind things. But Dune, which the first one was nominated for, I want to say it was 9 Oscars, maybe 10, and it won 4 or 5, is out now. Yeah. Like, it came out 4 days before the Oscars aired. I was like, it's definitely going to be nominated. Like, it's one of the greatest. It's
what are you gonna say?
It's one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time.
Okay.
So, I'd probably do some research on my own to know of like how early in the year was a Best Picture nominee released for it to carry through. But this one feels like it might be one of the earliest ones, because I mean, it's all subjective.
Yeah.
But right now, Dune Part 2 is ranked number 11 all time on the Internet Movie Database, IMDb's top 250 films.
Wow.
Number 11.
That's crazy.
It is. And I don't see it going down much. So there's no way that it's not going to be recognized. I would imagine picture, director, maybe actor for Chalamet, probably supporting actor for Austin Butler. He was in Elvis last year.
Yep.
Cinematography, editing, sound, clearly, production design, costumes, maybe makeup.
They're just going to bring in a broom and just sweep the whole thing.
It's not to say that they're going to win them all, but it's definitely going to be nominated.
Yeah.
But that'll be like, the Academy will have to like watch it again at Christmas to like remind themselves, oh yeah, I watched this 9 months ago. And it's amazing.
So it'll be out on streaming and stuff by then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You always wonder too if at that point, because sometimes they come out with like the director's cut or a different.
Well, I'm sure that they did not.
Something else will come out.
Denis Villeneuve, any little bit on that movie. He had, with how good the first one was received and how well he made it. Again, nominations up the wazoo and when all that. I'm sure they're just like, you do you, man.
Yep.
You've got this science fiction thing down.
Your brain is meant for this.
But there's a big difference between watching Dune Part 2 at like the Marcus Ultra screen. It's not quite an IMAX screen, but it is as close to it as you can get it without it being a legitimate IMAX screen, which we don't have anywhere near us here in Minnesota.
Tragedy.
We used to at the zoo, and they took that down like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't even like realize that that had been gone for so long till we were just talking about that the other day. And I still remember it was so hard to watch. Saw V for Vendetta there, and like,
if it's not filmed for IMAX, it's a weird experience. Yes,
it was awesome. I mean, love that movie, but it was intense. It was an experience seeing that one there. That was a good time though.
So, and there's movie theaters they have here that they call IMAX. That aren't actual IMAX.
Yeah, it's nothing like...
Because IMAX isn't just the size of the screen. It's the size of the screen, the sound system, the setup of the seats, how far they are from the screen, how high up the screen goes, if there's a curve to it. So they call those LIMAX when they aren't legitimate. So we went to see Dune Part 2, me and my wife, at the Ultra screen because it's the closest you can get, and it's literally 3 minutes from our house, which is a nice win. And I would highly recommend doing that for you, because you haven't seen it, because it is meant to be seen in that setting. Watching it at home on your TV would be fine, but it's not. You're not getting the scope and scale of the film.
Well, and that is, there are just movies that are meant to be seen on the big screen. Can you watch them later on, or can you watch them on, like, an
airplane ride?
I mean, yeah, there's movies that you'll get about the same experience out of, but I'm putting that on the same vein of going and seeing like Endgame, like watching it home on your TV.
No.
Like you're never gonna have that.
No. Especially with the crowd cheering and
yeah, and that's like, and some movies, like sometimes I kind of like going to the movie theater and it's me and only like 4 other people in there, because then it's like a bunch of people right next to you. But then there's some movies you want to go experience it with the crowd that wants to go experience it, so you get the full experience. Mm-hmm. Like you said, like the cheering and the cheers and the cries and the shock and the awe and the whole crowd just like, and that's something that I think, again, like MCU is now like, we're just gonna throw out as much stuff as we can, and their numbers have gone down because people are like, take it or leave it. Like, I think there's something to having people wait and putting time into the product and
choosing some original stuff.
Yeah. Like, and I think sometimes I think they get too much of like, ooh, is our cash cow, let's keep pushing this thing out.
Yeah.
Why is it though? Don't lose sight of like what got you there and how to keep that going. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think throwing in like, because whatever it was it was like once a year, I think it was like once a year basically, you get a new movie from it, probably 9 months. I'm trying to think of like when they started. When did Iron Man first come out?
2009.
Yeah, so they would have had to do.
They did like 17 films in 11 years.
Yeah, so it was like probably 6 to 9 months between each one. Yeah, it must be about kind of the pace they're coming out at. So, but having a streaming show periodically in the bigger gap, I could see. But it's like, there's a new streaming something coming out every like 3 months. Mm-hmm. And 3 movies coming out that year. You can't escape it unless you just choose to. You're like, I'm out. I'm going to check out. That's where I am.
Yeah.
I love this stuff. Hawkeye's my guy.
Yeah.
Really, for lack of anything else, basically an average guy. I mean, yes, extremely well trained, but he doesn't have any superpowers. He doesn't wave his hand and doesn't come to him. He doesn't have a cool shield. He didn't get injected with stuff to make him all super strong. Mm-hmm. He's just a family man. He's a dad who got really, really good at something, but he goes and does that to provide for his family, and then he wants to go home and be with his family and take care of his family. And like, they even played it out in there where separate, and he's like, hey, I'll go do that for you, and then you leave me alone when I go do this. We keep them separate, and then to what that person looks like as the MCU took it when he lost everything, and then to bring the Ronin character in, and then the chance for obviously everything to reset, and just, he's always been like, the way the MCU put him on screen just made him come alive to me and just call to me.
Yeah. I mean, with not only we have this glut of Marvel stuff, but now the addition of Star Wars as well.
Oh yeah.
If someone's a fan, even middlingly, of both, it's overwhelming. Between they've obviously slowed on the movies, but they rolled out 5 different shows.
Something like that.
Between like Bad Batch and Ahsoka and Mandalorian, and like, it's, and not that it's bad, but it's
just, there's obvious Mandalorian. Yes, I haven't seen it. Forgive me. But like, everything I've ever seen, everybody, like, they hit it out of the park with that. They've done a great job with it. So it's not like there can't be wins in there, because there is. But it is just, as a fan and as somebody watching, like, there's only so much time, and especially like you talk those two, but let's just go like, if you like sci-fi superhero type stuff, you have the MCU, you have the DCU, you have the Star Wars, you have, well, now they're mixing of the mutants into the MCU. Mm-hmm. What else am I, what was the other one I was just trying to think of? Turtles. Lord of the Rings is doing shows and stuff now too. Mm-hmm. Like
Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Has a new series.
Like, you kind of have to like, okay, I know I'd enjoy them all, but like, where am I staking my big flag and where's the like one other small flag? It's kind of like, this is my thing. I enjoy this, so I'll watch these two. And the others, okay. Mm-hmm. Because it's hard to be like invested into all of them. Like, I still think of like the first, as you talk about DVDs, and I was just, the first DVD I ever bought was Gladiator. And it wasn't even for me. It was actually a gift that I gave to my buddy for his birthday when I was in the Air Force. And then we proceeded to watch it. But like...
Had you seen it?
Not at that point. I knew it was a really good movie. And I wanted to watch it. So I got it for him for his birthday. And then we watched it.
I think they're working on a sequel for that too.
They're working on sequels for everything. I mean... I'm sure pretty much everything that's been great in the past, they're working on a sequel or a remake of, and then they will just test audience, and if it lands, they'll run with it, and if it doesn't, then they'll scrap it.
That's what I worry about with Marvel lately, because Kevin Feige had such a unique vision with that initial Avenger arc.
Yep.
That it feels like they're trying to replicate it and force it to happen. Which I don't even think they expected to happen what happened. And it was just so well done.
Yeah, you can't predict that.
That it feels like now, like they had the Eternals, which you can make arguments about whether they fit into the MCU as it stands today. Were they a good addition or not? The film was okay, I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it, but I wasn't like, I can't wait for the next step of that, even though they clearly left it open for the next step.
Well, I was very entertained. We saw it in theaters, but where it's like, why am I forgetting names of, any Guardians of the Galaxy I'll watch again. Ant-Man, I'll watch those again. Mm-hmm. I'll even, Dark World, I guess I won't really choose to watch with Thor, but... I don't hate it like other people do. Like, I know you talked about that.
I still haven't seen Love and Thunder.
That one I haven't seen yet either, actually. Because, again, that's the whole,
It's the tack on.
Yeah.
And for me, it feels like they've pulled the reins back on... And fiscally, I get it. If it isn't financially successful, and then some, we can't continue it. Which I shudder to think, if Guardians hadn't been successful... we would have never gotten to where we did.
Right.
Because that was, at the time, nobody outside of comic book fans knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were.
I didn't know who they were when they came out.
A hit. I mean, same thing with Iron Man in 2009.
Yeah.
Wasn't a well-known superhero on the general public sphere.
No.
And now almost everybody knows who Iron Man, or at least has heard of the comic book character.
Yeah, he's like the foundation.
They took a chance on those to build them up to become... And they made original stories and unique ideas, and now they've said, we're going to focus more on the base. Essentially saying, we're not going to look at anything original. We need something that's going to be a hit. Which is disappointing, because they wouldn't have gotten where we did if they stuck with...
remaking another Hulk?
Yeah. Yep. We got to go with things that people know. Let's do another Superman movie.
Well, we could always use more Spider-Man. I mean, there's only... Yeah.
I think a part of it for me is also knowing how much that the initial arc built to with Thanos and the snap and everything.
There's real weight.
It's hard for me to really care about any Marvel movie after that because, one, the stakes are never so high.
Yep.
And two, I find myself often, even though I'm like, it's a movie, let it go, being like, why don't they just call the Avengers? Like, everything in this movie could be solved, like, right now, if you just called Hulk or called Thor. But nope, we're going to watch an hour-and-a-half movie.
People just being stubborn. Too much ego involved.
Yes.
I can do it on my own. You're not going to help me, Dad.
Yeah. Or even like, did you see the Marvels?
I have not seen that yet.
Elaine wanted to see it in theaters, so I went with her. Again, it wasn't terrible, but it ends with one of the main characters doing an absolutely mind-boggling feat that essentially would have fixed her character arc from like her entire life and fixed the movie just because. And it's like, it loses a little bit of its luster when it's so easy. To be like, oh, I need this character to do this. I'll write it in so they can.
Yeah. No, and that I think that's a very valid issue that what Marvel did with the MCU and was able to accomplish. Like, they caught a spark, rode the flame, and now there's still, there's still coals and there's still fire there, but it's like the ability to do it again, like taking it in a totally different, like you have to like completely diverge and like go a different direction because you can't rewash that same thing.
Right. Well, and also the demographics and the audience is changing. Like, our generation loved Harry Potter, loved Lord of the Rings, loved Marvel. The next generation doesn't necessarily think those are cool.
Yeah.
And, I'm curious to see what HBO is doing with Harry Potter. Have you seen this?
I know that there's something in the works.
7 seasons. Each season is one of the books, so they can go into more detail. I'm going to watch it because I loved the books and I love the movies. But I don't know that there's enough of a 18 to 24 demographic that's going to care to make it a hit.
They have to give it, that's the challenge that they're going to have, is they have to give it enough of a fresh spin to bring in new, but not diverge so much from the origins that it drives away
the old
true locked in fans. Because then you have a mutiny on your hands. that could become a problem. But from what I've seen, from everything of that world and what they've done, I feel like they can do it. I feel like it's because there's so much like what we get in the movies and Harry Potter to what like those time periods and how much more story is available. You just have to make it work with the story, not take some crazy left field hook where people are like, what does this have to do with, like, if it doesn't align with it, but there's all the different people in the school and all the different things that are going to happen that they can bring to life and give more depth to. I definitely think they can do it. And that would be one that I would definitely be excited to plug into and watch. All the Harry Potters are awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely enjoy them.
Oh,
I will.
Speaking of Harry Potter, and jumping back a topic, or 6, talking about on-site accidents. Have you heard about the accident that happened on set there?
No.
There's a documentary on Max called David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived. And it's a fascinating look at the guy who played, the guy who played Harry Potter. And it's a fascinating look at the guy who played the guy who played David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived. And it's a fascinating look at the guy who played the guy who played David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived. And it's a fascinating look at Harry Potter's stunt double through the first 6 films. And then when they were rehearsing a stunt for the 7th, he broke his neck and was paralyzed from the neck down. And so it's the documentary of leading up to that and how he and Daniel became really, really good friends, and are still friends now, but his life before and then the moment and since then. And it's really well done and impactful because it's centered around this thing that I've loved so much.
Yeah.
I didn't know about this story.
No.
But it's, kind of brings more weight to the craft of stunt work.
Oh, yeah.
Which is currently not recognized by the Academy. Come on. There should be an Oscar. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Well, you think of all the movies all the big action movies. And if we didn't have stunt doubles in there and stuntmen driving cars and blowing up and like we wouldn't have cinema. Or it'd all be CGI and we'd be like, oh, it's the same. Okay, cool.
There's an art to it. When I was working on a movie here in Minnesota, the stunt coordinator said, we don't get hired to do dangerous stuff. We get hired to do dangerous things really safely. Like, I hadn't thought about that. And versus I'm just going to get dragged behind a horse. No. I'm going to get dragged behind a horse in the correct way, at the correct time, holding the right way, let go at the right time, with the right protection to do it so it looks good, but is safe.
Yep.
And then sometimes, like this documentary, the cord that they used to pull him back through a wall just had too much weight on it, and it pulled him too hard and snapped the nerve. But I got an incredibly positive outlook on life. How can he be impactful? How can he be helpful? It's a really inspiring story of how you can take adversity and turn it into something incredibly good.
Yeah.
Even to the point where, as he's in the hospital right after the accident, he's in the spinal care unit at a clinic in the UK, and he's looking around the room, and there's one guy who's paralyzed because he got stabbed in the neck due to a hate crime. There's another guy who got blown up on a bus, and there's 3 other people in the room, and he's like, well, I am blessed and lucky because I didn't have to go through the horrible thing that they did to get here. Or I have more movement of my right hand than him, so I have to help him out now. It's just that, how some people can have just a different outlook on the world despite their circumstance.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty inspiring to watch. So I saw it earlier this summer, and then I mentioned it a couple days ago, and Elaine was like, I'd like to watch that. So we just watched it again. So
You have to see that's Katie's huge Harry Potter fan, so.
And it's really cool because you see a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
That's
leading up to it, and then a little bit after it. But
yeah,
because David at the time was 14 when they started making the first movie, when Daniel was 11, and Daniel was not very coordinated, and he needed to be a little bit more coordinated for the Quidditch stuff, and so they're like, go hang out with David, and they worked on rolls and tumbles and gymnastic stuffs and backflips and climbing things, and so they were just friends. They just hang out because they were supposed to, but they really formed a bond. So it's worth a watch. I was a little surprised it didn't get nominated for Best Documentary, but all 5 documentaries nominated for Academy Awards this year were foreign films, which is fine, but it was not one of the 5. So
again, that sometimes there's just so many viable options that come out that sometimes you just don't make it.
Sometimes you just don't make it. But the Oscars themselves, man. Oppenheimer won big.
I was going to say Oppenheimer kind of cleaned up a lot of...
Did you watch?
Like you would expect. I should probably say yes, but no, I didn't.
Yeah, Oppenheimer.
I honestly haven't been, sorry, I just haven't sat much in front of a TV much in the last 4 weeks.
That's fine. Yeah, it was nominated for 11, and it took home 7. So
Yeah.
I think it was one shy of winning all the ones that everyone thought it would. It was nominated for a couple others that were like, well, it's not going to get makeup and hairstyling, but it's up there.
That's fair.
It's not going to get costumes, but it's up there.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I was surprised that Emma Stone got it for Poor Things for Best Actress. Lily Gladstone from Killers of the Flower Moon was, I don't want to say the front runner, but through most of the world awards season looked like the sure shot. And then Emma kind of came on when she won at SAG. Which, looking at the two performances, it's stark how different they are. Because Lily did an amazing tour de force of how to do acting well minimally. Most of what you see and feel in her character is from her eyes, which is an incredible thing to do well and carry the character. But it's not as flashy.
Yep.
Clearly. And then Emma's kind of the exact opposite. Her character starts with adult female body, but the brain of like a toddler. And through the arc of the movie, grows up and learns life, essentially, to be an adult woman.
Yep.
So, I've never seen a more complete character arc in terms of like growth and development of the brain through a story. But they're so charismatically different in the performances they are. Like,
Well, and obviously that just kind of tells you what the Academy was looking for this year, or, you know, I've always wondered too, because you know more than I do, but there's obviously the Oscars is the big one, but there's lots of other subsequent awards that come up before that build up to. So if you start catching steam with winning a few of those along the way, does all of a sudden that start to swing the scale a little bit?
Usually. And then there's sometimes surprises. A couple years ago, Best Picture winner for Coda, which was in terms of like a Best Picture, it was a very small feeling film. Just like about a family in this fishing village where one daughter can hear and the rest of the family, her brother and 2 parents, are deaf. They run they have a fishing boat and they go out and do fishing, and it's kind of the interminglings of their community. That's essentially the movie. There's a little bit more to it than that, but like no grandiose thing. Like it's just a small film, and it was kind of came out of nowhere like the last 3 weeks with like a groundswell of, have you seen this? Have you seen this? And then it won Best Picture. I was like, I like the film. I would not say it's a Best Picture in terms of like how I think about Oppenheimer and Schindler's List, and you know.
Did Inception win in its year?
No, Christopher Nolan, this was his first win.
Okay.
And he won for picture and director. He's been nominated 3 other times, I think, for Dunkirk, I think Inception. But no, he hadn't won before. This was his time. It was the right movie at the right time.
That's fair.
Him to take it.
No, and an incredible film. Absolutely, no doubt.
I mean, and when you think of a Best Picture,
it checks all the boxes.
I mean, it has the scope and the scale. It has the sweeping performances, the beautiful cinematography, the weight of the story, that it's set in real world and historical significance, and
no.
So they've made some interesting choices the last few years between Coda and Parasite, and then even Spotlight a few years back, Moonlight. It's been interesting. They've kind of been all over. I mean, Shape of Water, that's a weird movie that won.
See, and that's again, you're way more plugged into that stuff to a little bit like because what wins and how it wins and stuff so much, like, do I enjoy it? Do I not enjoy it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was good. Like, Oppenheimer, no question. Like, a best picture, when you think about it, like, it has everything. For me, being more the lay person when it comes to movies, it's just, you're enthralled in the story. It's long, yet it doesn't feel long. And you're trying to unwrap the layers and you're just riding along, and then the different arcs, the different characters, the different behind the scenes things and who's doing this to who, and just the way it's drawn together and told, and just like, and the thing is it's like, it's almost like watching the Titanic. You know what happens at the end. You know where the story's going, because we know from history, but like everything in between is like, okay, what's actually happening, and there's such a unpacking of the stories behind the stories and the things that went on. And well, we definitely talked about Marvel and Iron Man, but Robert Downey Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Finally got his call.
Finally got it, man.
Which, for a guy that had so many, obviously, personal demons and struggles early on and at a young age, it's like the culmination and like the finishing of the redemption arc of like coming all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, you're more the Oscar award guy, but I would argue that he's definitely put up performances in the past that could have got him there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you know way more about that stuff than I do.
Yeah.
I'm just the guy that sits there and goes, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
He should win.
He was nominated for Tropic Thunder, which, one, I don't know you could make that movie today, and two, I don't think they'd nominate that character today.
No.
But they did, and he did great.
No, but what a movie.
I'm the dude playing the dude pretending to be the other dude. What do you mean, you people?
And you just, yes, it should have, and just like the springboard trajectory of like that movie, and like kind of at that point, like Tom Cruise was obviously in it, and like he was big and doing his thing, but like really nobody else was like off the charts blowing up. Like I would even argue that Ben Stiller wasn't like he had made some of his movies and stuff, but I don't even think
he's kind
he
of
was
coming
like,
off the Meet the Parents high, but it wasn't like,
yeah, it wasn't like he was like, and Tom Cruise was just on there being goofy Tom Cruise. Like it wasn't even like he was like a big part of the movie. Now his part of the movie was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Like it felt like an expensive SNL skit.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I would take that for sure. Yep.
With Jack Black and Bill Hader and who's the guy from Eastbound and Down?
Danny McBride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's the pyrotechnic dude.
But you look at all of them pretty much afterwards, like very successful. A lot of them, it was a springboard to really take off.
Mm-hmm.
And just like catching that spark in the bottle at that exact time to get that crew together to make that. Also to make that movie, then, like you said, you couldn't make it now. And I don't know that you go back even 10 years before that. In the same token, I don't know that it would have been too ahead of its time to go make something like that 10 years before that. Like, because it was wild, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like that perfect time. It just comes along just at the right time. Like, here's where we are with society. Like, a bunch of people that are hitting adulthood and have grown up with SNL and grown up with a bunch of those kind of skits, and where we are in the world in comedy. And then here's these people that people kind of know something about, a couple of these people, and then off and away they go.
Definitely, yeah. I was actually very surprised that Robert Downey didn't win. He was first nominated in 93. 93? 91? Must be 93, I think. For Chaplin.
Okay.
They did a biopic of Charlie Chaplin, and he was Chaplin.
Yep.
And it was a tour de force. Like, he was, I thought, heads and shoulders above the other 4 nominees that year. But he was against Al Pacino in Scent of a Woman. And this was one of those, like, we owe it to him Oscars, is what it felt like. Because they hadn't given it to him for Godfather, Godfather Part 2, Dog Day Afternoon, Scarface. Like, none of these. Scorpio, Serpico, they hadn't given him to any of these. And they're like, well, we might not nominate him again, so we should probably give him one for this. And so they did. And it only took Robert 30 years.
Only 30.
To get back there.
But how, like, on the one hand, like, that's a bummer because he definitely had opportunities, and I just loved his story and him going through all and so much of it publicly too, and not, like, he's fallen down, he's failed, but I feel like he's faced it all in a very real way. Mm-hmm. Like, he hasn't put on a good face all the time. He hasn't skirted the truth a bunch. He just, here it is. And just has put his head down and went to work, and
yeah,
look at him now.
Yeah, they've done well coming out of that Brat Pack with Rob Lowe and Tom Cruise and Jason Bateman and obviously Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, they've all done all right.
Kiefer Sutherland. Corey Feldman kind of fell off a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Got some issues. But
you look at the percentage of that have done well, and especially in an industry and where that's hard.
Yeah.
Because arguably all of them have had quite successful careers. Obviously varying levels and degrees and where they've all landed, but yeah.
Yeah.
I now I'm just like running through all the. Oh, that's what the movie just Lost Boys. That's what you said, Sutherland. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, they all found their own way. One of the young actor deaths that I wasn't really aware of at the time, but having seen what he did, was River Phoenix, Joaquin's older brother.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, he's young Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. But he also did some great work in other things. And then he died in an overdose really young. And seeing how good of an actor Joaquin is, it would have been fascinating to see the stuff that he would have chosen to take on in his life that just never got the chance. But who knows? Maybe some of the depth that Joaquin brings to his roles, he wouldn't have if he hadn't lost his brother so young. So, you never know.
You do never know.
You never know. There's a lot brewing under Joaquin, man.
Yeah.
They had a pretty messed up childhood. And he's kind of come out of it, but he's got some stuff. I think he channels it in the right direction.
Well, you look at, you have scenarios where you come out of something like that and you get to choose how you take that. You know, there's the story of the 2 sons of the dad who's an alcoholic, and one son goes on to be an alcoholic just like his dad. And when asked why, he says, well, you see my dad, what else would you expect of me? And then the other one that goes the other direction doesn't drink, becomes a highly successful CEO, runs a multi-million-dollar business. And they say, what led to this? What do you expect? I didn't want to turn out like that. Like, so when we have those traumas and those past wounds and traumas, you know, how do we use those, channel them? What do we use them for? Obviously, Joaquin has used a lot of that to channel into his portrayals on screen, which come through a lot. Which I'll admit, I've seen a lot of his stuff and enjoyed him. I don't know why, but I've just been like, for some reason, I've been waiting to watch his Joker.
All right.
So when I watch it, I'll tell you, and then.
Please do.
But now, where you're talking about, you have this giant list of movies that you've seen, and you have to catalog them all. I have this giant list of movies to watch. I'm not sure where to even start.
Well, show me the list. I'll tell you.
But then I find myself being called back to the things that I know and I love, and I know what I'm getting out of it. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen Dazed and Confused. So many times. So many times.
Never actually seen it.
Wow. We found one that I've seen.
All right.
And okay.
He's over here dazed, a little bit confused.
Always. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Never got around to it. Again, there's a few. What else haven't I seen? I've never seen The Deer Hunter. I've never seen... I don't think I've seen any movies with James Dean. Giant, Rebel Without a Cause, East of Eden.
Well, that's
Never seen him.
a little before us, so you have to go back to those. And
Right. I've seen a lot of those, though.
No,
But I
if
haven't
you haven't got
seen-
onto his.
I haven't seen Midnight Cowboy. I haven't seen... I mean, there's some others that are like the classic films you have to watch, and I just didn't get around to them yet.
Not sure you'd put Dazed and Confused in that category, but I mean, appreciate you mentioning those other ones around it. That's fair. I mean, to me, it always will be. For me, it was the fact that what really like etched that one in is I was in 9th grade in Meadows class, or was it small engines? I don't know. It was a mechanical class in school, and we had block scheduling, so we were in there for like an hour and 10 minutes or something. And the teacher that was teaching it, half the time didn't teach class, and I'm pretty sure he just went out back and got high. So then we could do whatever we wanted, and it was everything freshmen up to seniors in that class. And one of the seniors had Dazed and Confused, and we had the
TV on the cart.
And we at least half of that class was watching that movie, except for really burned in my memory is the first hour and 10 minutes of the movie. That last little bit, oddly enough, just doesn't resonate the same as the rest of the movie. I don't know how many times I had seen this part of the movie till I actually even saw the end of the movie. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Till I actually saw the end of the movie, which
Makes sense.
to me, the end of the movie is good. But that part of the
It's
movie
not the first hour and 10 minutes, I'll tell you that.
No. Just so awesome. But now it's like, if I just want something on, like, that I just enjoy and I know what I'm going to get and relaxing, I'll go back to that. Or recently just went back to rewatching Scrubs. That I think that was like one of the first places that I realized I could watch something musical and enjoy it. When they did their whole musical episode. And I was like,
Everything comes down to poo.
like, oh, this is fun. Okay, this isn't so bad. I like this. It's not that I don't like musicals. It just, they need to be done well and keep me entertained for me to enjoy them. Okay, that's fair. Not just a musical per se.
Yeah.
Also, it's shorter than a whole musical, so that might help.
But some recent musicals would be like Wicked or Into the Woods or Newsies, Dear Evan Hansen, obviously Hamilton.
When did Newsies come out?
I think they made it into a musical probably 2014, 15, 16.
So was there like a Newsies and then they made a Newsies musical? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a Newsies movie that came out.
So I've seen that, and I'm like, I don't remember that being a musical.
In 1991. Well,
Yes.
it is. I mean, they wrote it to be a musical back in the original airing with Christian Bale as the main dude, which is crazy. And Bill Pullman. Bill Pullman. Yes. He's the reporter. Just watched that recently, actually, because Brooklyn and I, my daughter, went to see Newsies Junior at our local middle school.
Oh, fun.
And so then we went home and watched the full version. But yeah, they added a couple more songs, changed the plot a little bit, and then did a staged version of it. I want to say 2013, 14, somewhere in there. But then maybe it was later, because they filmed the original cast and then put that. So that's on Disney Plus. You can watch the Broadway version with the original cast on Disney Plus as well, just like Hamilton.
Yes, we haven't got to my viewing of that and recording yet. Yeah. Too many other things going on.
He had to go and get a job.
I know, it's just the worst idea ever.
Bummer.
I'm telling you.
If only we were independently wealthy from... Come on, like and subscribe.